Joining me now is Anni Cyrus of liveuptofreedom.com and liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Anni has been very busy over the Christmas and New Year break, following what's going on in her home country of Iran. Remember, she translates a lot of this from Farsi into English and brings it to you and to us. She's at liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Here is her latest website articles there for you. Again, check them all out. Enemy of the People, Khomeini's war against Iranians. Here's another one, the inauguration of a moment, not a mayor, talking about Mamdani, which we just discussed with Trevor Loudon. She joins us now. Anni, welcome back. Happy New Year. Thanks for being with us. You and I talked over the break a few times. We often talked about coming back and breaking into programming, but I kept resisting for a couple reasons. And you did, I think, as well. But I did because I'm like, let's let the stories develop, number one. But number two, I think you have to let people understand what it would be like without Worldview Tube, without our broadcast partners, bringing the news and analysis through the lens of, well, personal experience, life lessons like you, and through the lens of a Christian worldview. So I said to our team, the urge is to go back to the desk. But I think our audience, I think many of them really appreciate us. But I think there's some of the audience that needed to be reminded about what it would be like not to have our network here, to have this vacuum here. So I said, let them just think about, hey, wait a minute. Where's Brandon and Worldview Report and Annie and David Pine and Trevor and the rest of the team? Oh, wait a minute. They're on break. Oh, wow. I hope that doesn't sound arrogant or selfish. But we worked very hard to put together a cutting-edge team and cutting-edge network with broadcast partners. And I just wanted the audience to have that little vacuum for a while and then come back so they could realize what it is we bring that makes us so different than everybody else. What are your thoughts on that before we get into this topic tonight?
Well, Happy New Year to you as well and your audience. I don't know about your audience, but I definitely was missing this. I needed to come back on your show, though I just resumed my show today too, but I felt the difference. I had Iranians reaching out to me, like, are you and Brandon not going to cover this? I'm like, no, we will. Just sit tight. Like, it was that far where even our Iranian audience were seeking answers of what's happening. I do agree with you. I personally couldn't, Brandon, with the hours I was putting into translation, sorting through videos, verifying information. I couldn't. Like, it would have been one of those times where I would be just audio only because I was researching and all of that. But I did also receive some messages from your audience who said they can't wait for you to come back. They can't wait for you to have me back on. So I think it does matter. Yes, I think a lot of people come to realize, especially because I think this is the first holiday break that you took that so much happened during.
I've never known a holiday break where so much was happening. No, I have not.
Yes,
I mean, exactly. There were multiple times we could have come back on the air, but we resisted. I was busy, as you know, working on finalizing and finishing up my Revelation commentary, getting up my Christian Zionism book, and then working on a new book, Transhumanism is Eugenics. So, yeah, there was a lot I just did not. I needed to keep my head down and keep writing and editing. But let's go right to Iran. Wow. First of all, Venezuela. I'm very excited about what President Trump did in Venezuela. I think there's a lot left to do, but I've been warning about this since 2010 in our archive about missiles from Iran going into Venezuela, 5,000 Russian man pads, those surface to air missiles that can be smuggled into the U.S., used to take down an airliner, who knows what else. So since 2010, I just kept hammering this. Venezuela is going to be the next missile crisis for us, like Cuba was. We've got to deal with Venezuela. We got to deal with Venezuela. You got the Margarita Island. They're training terrorists. We had all kinds of reports that they were training some of these domestic terrorist groups over in Venezuela to come back into the U.S. Venezuela has been a problem. Russia, Iran, China there, as we know. So I'm very happy. I know some people on the right are not happy. I'm listening, I'm reading. They're very critical of what President Trump has done. They can argue that. They have the right to do it. We'll let the courts work it out. But I was very happy. I know we're not in control of Venezuela yet, but at least the message was sent. And I don't know what President Trump intends to do with Venezuela, because, again, they're still in charge over there. They have their military. I don't know what he's going to do with Cuba. It sounds like that's next. But I do agree with the Monroe Doctrine. These people do not need to be in our backyard setting up military bases and training, but at the same time, we don't need Qatar having a military facility in Idaho. So it would be nice to see a little bit of consistency here. But hey, we are happy with what happened. At least I am. How do you think this impacts Iran? And do you see a connection between what President Trump did with Venezuela thus far? And then, of course, now I'm reading reports from the Jerusalem Post and others that I talked about with Aaron, a reporter on the ground in Israel today, that Israel's saying, hey, now that President Trump has done this with Maduro, does this free up Israel to go after Iran? So obviously, Israel sees some kind of connection between Iran and Venezuela, and they're moving forward on Iran. Put all that in the context now of the students in the streets.
Okay, so there are three. So Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, is facing three major battles. We need to separate them. The first battle is, of course, the people of Iran on the streets. That's the first battle, because that has started at 11:30 p.m. Eastern time on the 27th of December, which was way before January 3rd situation. That is one side of things. What happened in Venezuela, did it have any effect on Iranian people, their mission and their hope? No, none. It has made them a little concerned, as if would Trump come and do the same thing with Khamenei, because that's not what the people of Iran want right now. That's one battle. Now, the second battle Khamenei is facing is exactly what you just said. Now, President Trump did this. Is he going to give Israel a green light to come in, which would be a disaster for Khamenei to face? The third battle he's facing is since January 3rd. Since U.S. picked up, or I don't know, whatever the proper phrase is here, Maduro, Khamenei is under pressure from his own cabinet of what's going to happen to the $140 million that Maduro owes us. We just lost $140 million. The second pressure on Khamenei right now is from head of IRGC of what are we going to do about our bases. So what Trump did is having an effect on the regime of Iran, having to juggle a lot, but it doesn't have any effect or impact on the uprising of Iran. I hope that makes sense.
Let's go to a couple. I don't know how much footage you have in there, Logan, but here's one. What are these folks chanting here? Does anyone know, Logan?
I do.
What are they chanting, Annie?
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. We are united in this. That's what they're chanting. But the chant isn't the highlight of the video you just played. What's important is at the very beginning of the video, you hear a man voice closer to the phone giving, saying something. He's giving the location and the date. The location is Qom, Iran. Why is that important? I broke the news the moment I got the first confirmation that people of Qom have taken on the streets. Qom is by far, in the entire Islamic world, it is known to be one of the top 3 most religious cities in the world. You have people of Qom on the streets done with the regime. When that happened, I was so happy, Brannon. On any of other uprising, you might have seen a handful of people on Qom to come out. But this time, majority of people of Qom are on the streets. They started from that chant, but the last 2 days of chant from Qom has completely changed from "Don't be afraid, we're united in this" into "Death to dictator, long live the king."
Long live the king. And who is the king?
The late king of Iran, Reza Pahlavi.
The Shah.
The Shah of Iran, yes.
And his son is standing in the wings ready to go?
Absolutely. And that's what one of the... Let me get my face straight. One of the most beautiful part of last 5 days. We are on day 10 of the uprising, but starting day 5, people chant across the country. I should mention this. There are 174 cities officially involved with the uprising as we speak. That's 174 cities are in. And every city, videos are out of people chanting uniform chant. And that chant is, sob as much as you want, Khamenei, Pahlavi is coming back.
Wow. It is time for President Trump to bring him into the Oval Office and sit in the yellow chairs in front of the fireplace that we've been talking about since last year. And I think Nigel Farage basically just did that over in London, right?
Yes, Nigel Farage just had a meeting with Reza Pahlavi, and Reza Pahlavi put out well, the meeting with Nigel was a little before the uprising, but Nigel Farage put out a tweet saying, we support the people of Iran. And Reza Pahlavi, to answer that, put out a tweet saying, we appreciate all of your support of Iranian people and their fight for the freedom. We look forward to the day where UK and Iran can be great allies in peace and prosperity again. And that's, sorry, I just quickly, because today's big news is a letter or a quote of an interview Reza Pahlavi, Prince Pahlavi did in response to President Trump, again saying that if the regime doesn't stop killing its people, we're going to take military action. Prince Pahlavi put out or did an interview saying he strongly believes there is no need for any U.S. military action or any other kind of interferences right now, as people of Iran are following the plan and they have the moment they need to topple the regime.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable. So the prince doesn't even want the military of America getting involved. He wants the people to handle this. Of course, I have to ask, number one, is that because he realizes maybe they're getting a little help from Mossad on the ground over there? There is reports that a Mossad agent has been arrested over there. But are they, of course, remember we had Mossad. Did Mossad set up drones right there in their country and lift them up and use drones right there in Iran not too long ago? So Mossad's actively working, obviously, in Iran. There's a series, I don't know if you've watched it. I think it's on Netflix.
Tehran.
I think you're the one that told me to watch it.
Yes.
They've only had 2 seasons. Season 3, I think, comes out sometime soon. That's quite remarkable series because that is about a Mossad agent who goes over into Iran. So that's a pretty interesting series to watch with all this going on. So it makes me wonder, does he not want the U.S. over there because he doesn't want the U.S. having ownership in some way to pick the leader and pass him over? Let it come from the people on the ground. And do we know of any kind of communication between Netanyahu and the prince?
Okay, so let me go over certain things I can't directly talk of. I've been told not to, but as far as Mossad on the ground in Iran helping, more than you would ever imagine. More than you would ever imagine. And yes, 2 have been arrested, but there are at least 1,800 other of them. So good luck to the regime finding all of them. And every night they're doing more training with the average people on the street. As far as Prince Pahlavi's stand, is there any communication? Yes, Netanyahu. First of all, Netanyahu was the very first person before the 12 Days War to sit down and talk with Prince Pahlavi.
He went to Israel, correct?
Yes, Prince Pahlavi makes 1 visit a year to Israel. That has been going on for 47 years, by the way, because Shah of Iran did it once a year with family. And then after the Shah passed away, the family continued the tradition. And then when Prince got married, they took over the tradition and with their kids and all that. As you know, we reported that during the 12 Days War, his oldest daughter just married a Jewish American businessman. So, but yes, he visited Israel on his annual visit. They had a sit down. They did a talk. The first person that Prince Pahlavi showed his 100-day plan after the collapse of regime was Bibi, actually. They went over it. They talked about it. They discussed it with his team. So there's communication for sure. As far as Prince Pahlavi not wanting any U.S. military action, and I'm going to read the whole thing if you don't mind. I want to make sure. It says, I do not think it's a matter of any kind of outside intervention, either a military or a special op kind, because I think the regime is collapsing. The regime is at its weakest, Iranians are on the streets protesting not just economic misery, but calling for an end to this regime. And they have a golden opportunity for a regime change. That's what he said exactly. Reason? Yes. Number one, like any wise leader, like him, Prince Pahlavi, who backed the topple of his father and exile of him and his entire family, will not request help from a government that has not even shaken his hand yet. Number one. Number two, something that I will be covering extensively on my Substack this week. As of right now, MEK, which is Mujahideen Khalq, which I have talked about before on your show, including the terrorist Marxist Islamist group, have the highest, by over 70%, highest support from American Republican lawmakers. We are not about to request help from Republicans in power in America, knowing they're going to place MEK in power in Iran. Not just for sake of people in Iran, but for the possible shred of hope left for Iran and America's relationship to ever be repaired. We can't have that happen. If America ever tries to place MEK in power in Iran, that will be the end of either Iranians or the end of ever any relationship between Iran and America. So Prince Pahlavi is trying to avoid all of that.
Do you also think if he sees U.S. military come in there, then President Trump and others get to pick a new leader and they'll just pass over him?
That's the thing. We know they will pass him. They will pass. They will place MEK. Forget about Prince Pahlavi. Even if we had 20 other good candidates, current government in America are supporters. I mean, it's easy. Just look up MEK and Rudy Giuliani. Mm-hmm. You'll see the pictures pop up. Mm-hmm. You see the conference of all the Republicans that are the good guys. And I'm not bashing anyone, by the way. This is reality. Everybody can check it.
Yeah, we've talked about it before.
They endorse MEK, that stands for Mujahideen Khalq, translated to English as the jihadist of creation. Why would anyone support them? I don't know. But the point is, they have supported MEK since 2018 when Obama removed them from the terrorist list in America. They still support them. And we know for a fact if America plays any role in this, what is today an organic revolution, U.S. will turn it into another color revolution, another failure like 79, and hand over the country to MEK. And that is why I think I texted you in private. I said, at this point, Trump has one choice, and that is to shake Pahlavi's hand. Iranian people are not asking for his help. There are Iranians who are putting on social media, President Trump, stay away. President Trump, stay away. So yes, that is exactly why Prince Pahlavi, our queen, and the rest of us are just asking for President Trump to either stay away or shake Prince Pahlavi's hands. Respect Iranian people's wishes.
Here is what is reported to be a group of people, some of the folks wanting freedom, using explosives on a bus carrying IRGC members, we're being told. And what were they shouting? Can you say?
Death to Khamenei, death to Khamenei.
I kind of made the Khamenei part out, but I didn't know if they were using the F word in
no.
Farsi or something.
Here's the funny thing. I'm going to brag for a minute, if you don't mind, Brannon. Mm-hmm. I have sorted through over 2,000 video clips in last 10 days. Mm-hmm. You won't find a single chant that has any...
Really? Why is that? Why is that?
Culturally, we just don't have that. I mean, we do have cuss words, but culturally, it's just not something we usually use. It's just, I don't know. It's like the worst thing they have said, death to Khamenei, down with the regime. The only thing they call the IRGC or Besiege or morality police is they call them disgusting. They call them shameless. That's all you hear.
So culturally, it is not acceptable to curse in public.
It's not, especially if in publics there are kids around. Remember, the youngest who was killed was 15 years old. We have kids on the streets with everybody. It is not culturally accepted publicly or when kids are around. You just don't. Find a way around your chant to make it angry, but keep it clean.
Isn't that
just the way it
something?
is.
Because here in America, we're constantly having to bleep out the clips we play because there's so many, F-bombs and everything else in it. But you're saying that that is not done in your home country.
No, you don't. Even like if you word by word translate, there's nothing you would need to beep out. Nothing.
Amazing.
And to answer the video, yes, they are chanting death to Khamenei, the bus that's burning down. So when they gather, as the crackdown is happening, they gather those they have arrested. They have kiosks that they shove them in there and they wait for the bus to come pick them up. So one of the things Iranians are doing are they're either flipping over or burning down the empty buses that are going to pick up the arrestees or detainees, so they won't get there.
What are they doing with these people? Are they capturing any of the IRGC guys? And if they are, what are they doing with them?
May Lord forgive me for what I'm about to say. I am so proud of my fellow Iranians. 3 Basijis have been killed reportedly. At this point, they're killing them.
Okay, say that name again. You just said what?
Basij. You know how you have the word Basij. That is the general corporate that controls the security forces, the morality police, basically all of the people you see on the street some of them are IRGC, some of them are morality police, some of them are specifically riot police. They all go under the umbrella called Basij. You have that in English, right?
And they're killing them. So when they get their hands on them, the freedom folks are killing them.
Iranians have killed 3 so far. There is in the batch of videos, there is a video that an Iranian protester has somehow manipulated a fire extinguisher that throws fire. You see, he burns down one of the riot police on his motorcycle. He literally just set him on fire.
I saw one of them, if we can find, I saw one of them where a guy, it looked like he made a homemade torch.
It might be the same one. So there was one of the things a lot of us are doing is we're putting out, directly to our own contacts, how to use household items, turn them into weapons. One of the easiest one is to turn your fire extinguisher into torch. I say fire thrower or torch. So a lot of guys in Iran are actually making those, just handing them to people. Because they need to burn a lot of things down. I mean, the goal isn't to burn. There you go. This is the one. Watch this.
There it is.
Right there.
Yep.
Watch. In 5 seconds, boom.
And what is that? What is that?
There's a chemical you add into the extinguisher that after a few spray, it just fires up, turns into fire. So that's what they're doing to they are giving him a chance. Most of the videos you watch people saying, put down your gun, put down your gun. If they don't, they're going for kill.
So and
I don't blame them.
They're being if they don't, they'll kill them probably. So they're being very humane, unlike the regime has been to them.
Exactly. Because of the call to action, our queen, Mother Queen, put out 3 days ago, she requested for all Basij, IRGC, police, everybody, put down your guns. Even if you don't want to join the people, just put down your guns. Well, she asked the people to give them a chance to put down their guns before you attack them. So people are doing it. They give them a chance.
Well, because they might turn and come on their side, and you don't want to kill someone that could end up being on your side.
Yes, there is a picture in that email. You see a soldier in actual military uniform. He's saluting a sign on the wall. The sign on the wall says, "Long live the king." We already have military members coming. There you go. It's Javid Shah. Long live the king. That's the thing. That's the beauty of it. With the messages coming from Prince Pahlavi and Mother Queen, they are putting their arms down. They are joining, and some of them publicly are, giving help to people.
Take a look at this. Any idea what he's saying there, Annie?
Long live the king. Day 12, 1404 equals January 2nd, 2026.
Long live the king seems to be the common theme here, right?
Yes, and so long live the king is the common, and then it goes further when they are saying Pahlavi is coming back, and then as they burned Islamic flags, you see Pahlavi flags flying on the bridges of main highways.
And what do those flags look like?
There you go. I don't have it on, I have it on the other table. It's the with the lion and the sword in the middle. The lion and the sword thing on in the middle.
Do you think, Annie, this time the people of Iran will be set free?
Will U.S. stay out of it?
So you're saying the difference between freedom or remaining in bondage will be if the U.S. stays out of it?
100%.
Wow.
Absolutely.
What a sad commentary on our own country.
I have been put in this bad position a few times in the last few years, but it won't change. It's right now. I agree with what Prince Pahlavi said. This is what I said during the 12 Days War. Remember, Brandon? Stay out of it.
Yeah, we were here saying stay out of it. Yep.
Stay out of it. I mean, that's the thing. I credit the man when credit is due, but to this day, I still repost his truth post of bragging about saving Khamenei's life. That will stay in history. That's been screenshotted by millions. There's no coming back from it. So is U.S. going to decide to save Khamenei's life again? Or is U.S. going to finally respect the people of Iran's candidate and choice and let this go where it needs to go?
Well,
it all depends on that.
This supposedly is an 11-year-old young man.
درود به مردم ایران. من یک پسر 11 ساله هستم. ازتون خواهش میکنم بیاید کف خیابون. هیچ چیزی از دست دادن نداریم. نه مشکلمون حجابه، نه مشکلمون چیز گرونیه. فقط جمهوری اسلامی بعد کشور ما بره. جمهوری اسلامی بیشرف و قاتله، حکومتش باطله. از جمهوری اسلامی هیچ ترسی ندارم. ازتون خواهش میکنم بیاید کف خیابون. مرگ بر خامنه‌ای. میجنگیم، میمیریم، ایران رو پس میگیریم.
ای قربونت برم من.
Wow. Little 11-year-old boy just wants to live in freedom.
11-year-old.
Wants to live in freedom.
Yes. And
how can you not root for these people?
11-year-old who stands there said, I am not afraid of this Islamic regime. I will fight. I will die, but I will take my country back.
And in America?
And I want to know where are all the universities and their protests for free Iran? It's an 11-year-old kid. 2 of the killed were 15. One of them was 17. What about people and children of Iran?
And in America, we just had with Trevor Loudon talking about the new mayor of Seattle, socialist, the new mayor of New York, Mandani, socialist, Islamist, swearing in on the Quran, going to the collectivism. His rent lady is going to says openly, you're going to have a new relationship with rent. We're going from, individual rent owners, landlords to collectivists. America, can we not look at Venezuela and Iran and these other places, Cuba, and say, we don't want to go down that road? But yet they keep electing in New York City, Seattle, Portland, these other places, these outright Marxists. I don't know how America avoids a civil war, because there is just too many of us that don't want to go down that road. And there's too many of them that do want to go down that road. Unless the Trump administration starts indicting these people for treason, high crimes, etc. I don't understand how America stays together as a union any longer.
It's interesting you say that. I just submitted my January issue of article for Freedom Talk magazine. They're very kindly publishing once a month on their issue my article, and that's exactly what I talked about. I said, my fellow Americans, look at Iran today. On my latest Substack, 47 Years of Fight, I went over the history of Iranians uprising in Iran against the regime. And the first uprising, to many people's surprise, started 2 months after this revolution was finalized. They have gone through 12. Today, they're doing the 12th uprising. 12 uprising in 47 years, with thousands dead, hundreds missing who never came home, thousands of women brutally sexually assaulted. They still haven't given up. Do we really have to get to where Iranians are for us to fight back? Do we really want to keep looking the other way while our rights are taken away, while our history is being replaced with some made-up shame? Look at how it's 100 years. Okay, this is Iranian calendar we're talking. In Iranian calendar, in 1304, the first Pahlavi, who was a military general, toppled the Qajar dynasty and freed the Iranian people from the Islamic clerics. Today, as we speak, there's a good chance on 100 years later, his grandson might be doing the same thing. Are we ever going to pay attention to history or learn from it? 100 years for people of Iran to go from one Islamic tyrant monarch to the next Islamic republic, supposedly, to the next person to come and save them. When are we going to learn? Didn't our people have to fight tyranny to gain our freedoms? Do we really have to lose it again in order to fight for it and gain it again?
Well, Annie, over the break, and I mentioned it in my interview there with Trevor Loudon, over the break, I saw so many people, and some people have huge followings, that were saying they're not paying taxes this year. They're done with the federal income tax. $1 billion fraud in Minnesota. That's just the tip of the iceberg. It's going on in all these states. And they're done. And if you take out all the fraud, you would have no need for a federal income tax. Of course, you add in all the unconstitutional agencies, you would certainly have no need for a federal income tax. I've never seen so many well-known names, people you know, I know, the audience knows, well-known public figures saying they're not paying taxes. They're done. I said to our team, it seems like we're at a tipping point. The people are finally realizing the corruption of the federal government. And as I've said before, and I said it to my family over the break, the founding fathers would be appalled if they came back at so many things. But one of the things they'd be appalled at is how much we talk about the federal government. They'd be appalled at how much we talk about Washington, D.C., about how much of our life is determined out of Washington, D.C. I think they would be shocked by that. And the only thing I can say is the founders, and I know they had a big debate over it, and that's why they had to get the 10 Bill of Rights, because some of them didn't want a federal government. So they had to get the 10 Bill of Rights to get the Constitution ratified. But their biggest mistake was ever creating a federal government. We should have never had a federal government, period. And I think they'd be appalled that we spend so much of our time talking about the problems that we all face, and it comes out of Washington. But I've never seen so many well-known people saying they're not going to pay the federal income tax. I mean, if President Trump wants to sign an executive order, here's what it should be. I'm freezing all federal income tax payments here in 2026. No taxes should be paid in 2025. I am giving a blanketed pardon to everyone that has a tax penalty, a tax lien, a tax levy. We're clearing the slate. Everyone gets a clean slate on that one. The clock is stopped ticking. That's done. But nobody's paying federal income tax in 2026 because we have too much fraud. And until we can get control of the fraud and know where the money's going, we're not going to feed this system anymore. I don't know if he could do that from an executive order standpoint. I kind of think he could, but I'm not an attorney. But I'll tell you something. Can you imagine winning the midterms if he started pulling stunts like that? But we're at a tipping point. I'm going to repeat it. I've never seen so many people ready to stop paying taxes. Now, I personally am not going to do that because you and I would be a quick target, right? They'd use people like you and I as a quick example. That's why I was a little shocked that some people saying it are pretty well-known people. I'm like, well, if you really follow through on that, You need to be aware of the fact that they could come after you to make you an example to all the people that are going to do it and follow your example, who, by the way, don't have anything to lose. You know, there are people that don't pay taxes. Well, one reason they don't is the 2,000 or 3,000 they would pay in, the IRS really isn't concerned about that, right? So when you start having major influencers that do have a home and do have income, not paying taxes, encouraging other people to not pay taxes, we're reaching a new tipping point. What do you say?
I will agree, and I would say yes, President Trump could do executive order, but then they will drag him into all sort of impeachment and all that. But we should, this isn't me targeting anyone. I'm trying to be nice in 2026. Well, kind. I don't like being nice, but.
And by the way, let me just say, for the purpose of people wanting to know why you don't like being nice versus kind, I don't know your reason for it, but I'll tell you why. The word nice is derived from the word ignorant. So
exactly.
I don't like the word nice.
Yes, that's why I prefer to be kind and not nice. Because, but here's the thing, Brennan, we need to remind our audience, we have the White House and we have the House, and we still can't get anything done. What does that tell us? I know we like to blame everything on Democrats, but they don't hold any power right now. We can't pass any laws. From what I understand, 2025 held a record of least laws passed under a Republican House. So maybe the tipping point you're referring to, I think it is the tipping point I've been praying for 9 years, where people will come to realize don't belong to a party, belong to America. I think we're at a point where people are going to finally realize there is no party difference anymore. This needed to happen. We had to have this Republican House rejecting the Doge saving and the tariff saving and the tax changes. They had to reject for people to come to realize this isn't about parties anymore. This is about a government that has gone so big that we're nothing but a small people to them now. And we don't count.
And the two parties, I think, benefit from the plunder. This is how they and their special interest groups all get the money and then launder it and push it under the table and clean it and get it all back to the politicians and their family members and whatnot. I think it's a gigantic, in my opinion, a gigantic money laundering scheme. And I remember when I interviewed Rudy Giuliani once, I interviewed him several times. But in one interview, we were talking about Ukraine, and he said, that's a gigantic money laundering operation there. I said, well, why don't the Republicans do something about it? He said, because too many Republicans are also on the tape. He said that.
Exactly. That was my reason. I was a registered Republican. I walked away and I became an independent, registered independent when I started connecting the dots. Wait a minute. It doesn't matter who holds power in America. It really doesn't. The results are the same. There might be minor wins here and loses there, but it's there. It doesn't matter. They all go into the same room and they decide what is going to happen, how much they're going to compress our life to expand theirs.
Okay, let's talk real quick about Iran, the nation. Now, Persia. What nations encompassed Persia, in biblical days versus today?
Biblical
Do you know?
days.
Because I remember Jimmy DeYoung talking about the nations that were involved, and today we wouldn't call them that anymore. So was there a collection of nations that came together to form Persia?
So basically there was, as Cyrus the Great conquered, Persia expanded. So that's the thing. We have Persia as the land, and then we have the Persian Empire, which was the expansion of Cyrus the Great. Now, I need to put on parenthesis, when he conquered, he didn't conquer in the definition of Alexander. He conquered as he set the people free, let them pick their owner, let them keep their language, religion, culture, custom, everything. But the new leader had to report to Cyrus the Great. So if we're talking about Persian Empire expansion, we're talking, okay, so we're talking Afghanistan, Pakistan, parts of Turkey, a little bit of Azerbaijan, portion of Uzbekistan. What is that country? of course, Syria, Bahrain. Those are definitely what would be considered part of Persian Empire. Like Iraq was never Persia. It was always, it was Babylon and then later Iraq. But at some point it was freed by Cyrus the Great when he freed the Jews in Babylon as well. So it became Persian Empire. You have, of course, Pakistan never existed. It's a recent thing. They detached it from India. But there was a time when that part of Bangladesh and Pakistan was also part of Persian Empire. Afghanistan, longest time. Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, they were all part of Persian Empire.
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted you to do. And this is not rehearsed. And this is not rehearsed.
I was looking at the map in my head, but okay,
That was
I'm glad
excellent.
okay.
Fascinating. We got to put this out as a standalone clip because what she just did was brilliant. Now, here's the question. When the Bible in Ezekiel 38, Old Testament, 39, talks about the Gog-Magog war, where these coalition of nations, which seem to be Rosh, Russia, Persia, which we would today say modern day Iran or Iran, all these nations that come together, Turkey. I don't know what you believe based on the history you just shared, but let's say Iran goes free. A lot of Bible prophecy guys are going to be looking at that going, well, that's interesting because at some point, Persia, Iran, has to be involved in this invasion of Israel. Well, if you have them go free and become friendly with Israel, where are we at on the Bible prophecy calendar with that? And my thinking would be, well, how do we know that is the part of the Persia we're talking about? If we go back to what was the map and the table of nations when the Old Testament prophet Ezekiel was writing that book in that chapter, those two chapters, 38, 39, where this is discussed, Gog, Magog, the invasion of that coalition of nations, Gog being the leader, Magog being the coalition, it may not even involve that part of what we call today Iran. It would may involve these other countries that were under that name at that time. Can you help me with that?
Yes. So I would say southwest of Iran would definitely not be part of that reason. Elam is where we're talking about. That's Elam, where he's going to put his kingdom, right? Elam is the southwest of Iran. That's not going to be touched. Now, could I think part of Khorasan would be part of it? Yes. And that is, by the way, pronunciation. Have you, ISIS K, meaning ISIS Khorasan? That's what I'm talking about. We have Khorasan on Iran, part of the Khorasan in Afghanistan, right? It was later when they drew all the borders with their pens, them being Western countries, Western empires, they split Khorasan into Iran versus Afghanistan. Could that be part of it? Yes, especially because one of the biggest concerns, just for the record, is if Iran is set free, one of the things that's going to happen is certain areas of Iran borders are going to separate themselves into the Islamic neighboring areas. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but if we want to look at the biblical part of it, that could be how the entire shape of what of Iran will not be part of it, what part will be part of it, could be the separation. A lot of people are concerned about that those provinces are going to separate from Iran. But I know for a fact the Elam area will not be. I'll be more than happy by end of the week. I'll be more than happy to do an overlay of today's Iran versus the biblical time of actual lines of Persia and send it to you.
Okay, I think
so you have an exact perfect.
So what you're saying is you could have Iran go free with a very pro-Israel government, and it doesn't disrupt the Gog-Magog scenario at all. It would just be that country doesn't have anything to do with this. The Persia being discussed in Ezekiel are these other lands. I think I found a map. The Persian Empire, 538 to 332 BC.
You see where the Caspian Sea is? Right? If you start the border as of it, where it says, there you go, Parthia, You see Parthia?
Yep.
Right there by the eye of Parthia is where Khorasan separates from P to I, it stays inside Iran, from IA goes into Afghanistan. That is the area that very well, even in a free Iran, could play a role, because that is the area that's going to try to stay Muslim. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
They have historically always been Muslim. Now you see Elam, where I just said there's no way that area is going to be involved with it. Because we all know he's going to build his kingdom in Elam, right?
Are you talking about the Antichrist?
No, Christ.
Oh, well, you're talking about Christ in Jerusalem.
Yes.
He'll build it in Jerusalem.
In Elam. Okay, hold on. Let me pull up the exact verse I'm referring to, because I actually, though it's one of my favorites, I don't have the numbers.
And by the way, when you talk about Afghanistan, you mentioned some of the other bigger ones that were
Pakistan.
Okay, so these countries could clearly be about coming against Israel and still be part of, quote, Persia per Ezekiel 38. That's the point.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so that's the point I'm trying to make.
Jeremiah 49:38 is the one I'm referring to.
Okay.
I will set my throne in Elam and destroy its kingdom and officials. That's the one.
So,
but yes, Pakistan is right below Afghanistan.
So what you're saying here is that for the Bible scholars looking at thinking, well, there's no way Iran can go free because it won't fit with Bible prophecy. Oh, no, there's plenty of Persia left to fulfill the Ezekiel 38 category. That's all I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. What you see of today's Iran by borders, by the highest time of Persian Empire, estimated by historians, it's less than 1/20th of Persia. Less than 1/20th of Persia.
Wow. And interesting. Well, I guarantee you the conversation we just had answers a lot of questions for a lot of people, because Bible prophecy watchers are going to be asking, how does this fit in with Bible prophecy? And I think we just answered that question. Take a look at our website here, folks. Here is a lot of the articles, because during the break, she was very busy writing articles. You'll find them at liveuptofreedom.substack.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. And we have a lot more we can talk about. We'll be bringing her back in as we continue. Any other closing comments or story that we didn't talk about you need to bring up here?
Yes, just few thoughts, more like it. Well, we covered most of the important stories, and I will, of course, invite your audience, follow my Substack or Facebook, and I'm reporting almost minute by minute.
Good.
And everything I put out, I verify them myself. I translate them myself. So there's no over-exaggeration. There's no underplaying it. It's actually what is in there. But one of the main things is, if you're planning to help people of Iran, of course, number one, pray for them. The second thing is, please, even out of curiosity, please do not go to their pages. I'm not talking about me. I mean, Iranians inside Iran. Do not go to their pages and try to tell them what to do. We have no idea what they're facing. We need to encourage them. We need to cheer them. We need to pray for them. These kids are barely hanging on. And when we go in there and tell them, you need to go do this, without knowing they can't, we discourage them. I know it comes from a good place, but try to just encourage them. Tell them you're here for them. Tell them you hear them. Tell them you're praying for them. And then just spread their voice. Get their message and put it out there. And that's all. And don't encourage our government to get involved either. Discourage our government. That's what I wanted to say, because I've seen some of the pages of the guys from inside Iran who are getting a little tired of hearing, you should do it this way. Why did you do it that way? Or why don't you go find a gun and do it? They don't have Second Amendment in Iran.
Right. But I did see, I think, some footage of some folks who had gotten a hold of some weapons and were using them, right?
Yes. Let's just say the Basijis who were killed were found naked. Their uniform and their guns.
Well, this, of course, is where we need Mossad, in my opinion, to start dropping crates full of weapons to arm the the people. So they have
Not yet.
Not yet. Why not?
Not yet. Okay. So a few reasons. Number one, a majority of people on the streets are the younger generation. One by one, they at least need to learn how to hold a gun and not shoot themselves accidentally. They don't have the experience or training. As I said, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 11-year-old, 17, they're young. They need training. Number two, the regime still has enough upper hand to just bring tanks on the streets.
And why haven't they done that?
Bring tanks? Because they are being careful. If you compare we're on day 10, our prayers with their families. I have done my crying, but 27 Iranians have been killed. And you go back to 2022, Mahsa Amini, on day 10, we had 450 killed. Though it's tragic when innocent lives are taken just simply because they want their freedom, but you do the side-by-side comparison, the regime is moving way more careful than any other time of uprisings.
Is that because they're afraid that if they do, it will spark more resistance in the streets?
That is number one. Secondly,
public relations?
At this point, they don't know how many and where Mossad agents are. So they're trying to do it carefully to where they can spot Mossad agents and arrest them, clean house first, and then go kill all the normal people. That's why they're slowing down. They're being careful. So that's why they're not bringing their tanks or even the big, what do they call it? The anti-protest trucks aren't out either, which is a good sign. And that's why Prince Pahlavi has repeatedly been saying their momentum is slow but steady. And we want them to keep it. We don't want any foreign influence sparking anything out of order. They have a plan, they're following it, people of Iran, and the regime has to go with their speed. Otherwise, they're going to be tricked. So let me put it this way. People of Iran, when the time is right, 9 out of 10 will be fully armed to their eyeballs. When the time is right.
Wow.
We'll get there.
liveuptofreedom.substack.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. And she's on each and every day at 3 p.m. Central, 4 Eastern at worldyoutube.com. Right?
Absolutely. 3 p.m. for Central. Yes.
Thank you, Annie.
Thank you, Brandon. Be safe.
We'll be right back after this break with David Pine. Don't go away. We'll be right back.